Hello, good morning to everybody in the US. Good evening to everybody in India. Welcome to our Pravachana Malika talk number 20. The talk today is on...
ಒಂದು prayer, Vedic prayer ಹೇಳ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಮಹೇಶ್ ಬಂದಿಲ್ಲ.
The talk today is on ancient Indian knowledge system and its contemporary relevance. So we're very excited to have Dr. Jayanti P. Sahoo, who is Associate Professor and Head Department of Philosophy at Janki Devi Memorial College, University of Delhi. So she'll be our keynote speaker. And for today, our program is, we're going to start with the invocation of Veda Kusumanjali. And we have a couple of nice Sangeetanjali invocation songs. And then we'll have Dr. Pravachana introduce the speaker and we'll do the keynote talk. And we'll have concluding remarks and vote of thanks. So we can get started with the Veda Kusumanjali. Om Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Om Ganana Tva Ganapati Gum Havamahe, Kavim Kavinam Pavashravastamam, Jeshtarajam Brahmanam Brahmanaspata Anashunvannotibhis Siddhasadhanam. Om Bhadram Karnebhih Shrunuyama Devaah, Bhadram Pashyemakshabhiryajatraah, Sthirairangai Stuštuvagum Sastanubhih, Vyasema Devahitam Yadayuhu, Swasti na Indro Vruddhashravah, Swasti na Pusha Vishwavedaah, Swasti nastarkshyo Adhyanemihi, Swasti no Bruhaspatir Dadhatu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Sahana Bhavatu, Sahana Bhunaktu, Sahaviryam Karavavahai, Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamuduchyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah, Sarve Santu Niramayah, Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu, Ma Kaschid Dukha Bhag Bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. So Mahesh, please go ahead with your Sangeetanjali.
Hi, I'll be singing Munivara Vikasita, Talam Ekatalam. Munivara Vikasita Kavivara Vilasita Manjula Manjusha Sundara Surabhasha. Munivara Vikasita Kavivara Vilasita Manjula Manjusha Sundara Surabhasha. Aima Tatsava Posha Nakshamata Mama Vachanatita Sundara Surabhasha. Aima Tatsava Posha Nakshamata Mama Vachanatita Sundara Surabhasha. Sundara Surabhasha. Sundara Surabhasha. Veda Vyasa Valmiki Munina Kalidasa Vanadi Kavina Pauranika Samanya Janana Jivanasya Asha. Sundara Surabhasha. Sundara Surabhasha. Sundara Surabhasha. Shruti Sukanenade Sakala Pramode Smita Hitavarade Sarasa Vinode Gatimati Preraka Kavya Vishad Tava Samskriti Resha. Sundara Surabhasha, Sundara Surabhasha, Sundara Surabhasha, Navarasa Ruchira Alankritadara, Veda Vishaya Vedanta Vichara, Vaidya Vyoma Shastradi Vihara, Vijayate Daraya, Sundara Surabhasha, Sundara Surabhasha, Sundara Surabhasha.
Thank you. Very nice. So next I have another invocation prayer. I just play that right now. So then I want to introduce who the people who are singing are.
Just play the record, meaning the song.
Song name Mangala Harati. Mangala Harati Nikamma Amma Harati Gai Konuma Amrutavashini Gayatri Amma Harati Che Konuma Veda Nivasini Gayatri Mangala Harati Nikamma Vishwanathnuta Gayatri Nitya Mangala Munikamma Mangala Harati Nikamma Amma Harati Gai Konuma Amrutavashini Gayatri Amma Harati Che Konuma Anandadayani Gayatri Ananda Harati Nikamma Prayancha Vahana Vevamma Ragala Harati Gai Konuma Bala Rupini Vevamma Bhaktula Harati Che Konuma Arunarunave Brahmani Ativala Harati Nikamma Mangala Harati Nikamma Amma Harati Gai Konuma Amrutavashini Gayatri Amma Harati Che Konuma Kalimala Nasini Savitri Karpura Harati Nikamma Nandi Vahana Punivamma Natyala Harati Gai Konuma Navayavani Vinivamma Navaratna Harati Che Konuma Dhavala Varnane Sivani Deepala Harati Nikamma Mangala Harati Nikamma Amma Harati Gai Konuma Amrutavashini Gayatri Amma Harati Che Konuma Veda Nivasini Gayatri Mangala Harati Nikamma Vishwanathnuta Gayatri Nitya Mangala Munikamma Mangala Harati Nikamma Amma Harati Gai Konuma Amrutavashini Gayatri Amma Harati Che Konuma Thank you.
That was Meenakshi and Pranati Pachava, right? Wonderful coordinated singing by the sisters. So Vasan sir is here. Vasan sir, you want to do a brief invocation also?
Yes, sir. I did say that. I was late.
No worries.
Om Badram Karne Vishunuyama Devaha Badram Pashyemakshaviryajatraha Nirairangai Tuštava Gumsastanobihi Vishema Devahitam Yadayuhu Sastina Indro Vruddhashtavaha Swastina Pusha Vishwavedaha Swastinastarksho Arishtanemihi Swastino Brihaspatirdadhatu Om Shanti 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 Om Agninaya Supataraye Asman Vishwani Deva Vayanani Vidwan Yodhyasma Juranameno Bhuyishtante Namuktim Vidhema Om Shanti 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 Om Brahman Brahmano Brahmavachasi Jayatam Arashtre Rajanyaha Sureshavyoti Vyadhi Maharato Jayatam Ubhri Denuhu Odhanadvan Asusaptihi Purandhiryosha Jishnorateshtha Sabeyo Yuva Asya Yajamanasya Viro Jayatam Nikame Nikame Naha Pajanyo Na Varshato Palavatyo Na Voshadayah Pachyantam Yogakshemo Naha Kalpetam Om Shanti 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 Om Yaschandasa Mrishabho Vishwarupaha Chandobhyodyamritaat Sambabhuva Samendro Medhaya Sprunotu Amrutasya Devadarano Bhuyasam Shariram Me Vichashanam Jikva Me Madhumattama Karnabhyam Bhuri Vishruvam Brahmana Koshosi Medhaya Pihitah Shrutam Me Gopaya Om Shanti 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 Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevapashishyate Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat. Namaste Guruji. Hari Om.
Thank you, Asan sir. Nana, you want to please introduce the speaker and the topic on ancient Indian knowledge system and its contemporary relevance.
Welcome. Om Agnenaya Supatharaye Asman Vishwani Deva Vayunani Vidwan Yudhyasmad Juhurana Meno Bhuyishtham Te Namavuktim Vidhema Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So with a prayer to Lord Agni, who knows any and everything of our lifestyles and knowledge and all that, and also who gives enough encouragement to be able to unravel so much of knowledge, so many things in our journey of life. Now, I'd like to introduce Dr. Jayanti Sahoo. Actually, she was there, but we are not noting her. Dr. Aparna, she introduced her and specifically, and I noted she is such a devoted scholar to her subjects, and not only a scholar, but also wonderfully working as an executive to bring all scholars into one platform and make them share their knowledge, and also that besides herself being that. So, and she is the head of the Department of Philosophy in the Janaki Devi Memorial College, University of Delhi. And her biodata is too long. It will occupy more time, but we should know more knowledge about the present topic. And so actually we are inviting all Rathas, Maharathas, Atirathas, Jayadраthas in their own field of specializations. And in that cube, and our Jayanti is also a remarkable scholar and writer also. So many articles are there by her. And recently, her article is there in our Veda Ganga, volume 28. Probably she is sharing to other friends also, wherein her beautiful article on philosophy, Advaita, and all that is there. somehow she has been introduced to our Nada Veda Kendra, as well the World Association for Vedic Studies Bangalore chapter, which started 1996 or so in the presence of Dr. Bhudev Sharma, Kashyap, Dr. Kashyap, and so many people in Bangalore. So anyway, this has been working all through the time. And today we have got a very interesting subject. In fact, she has opened up a WhatsApp group for this philosophical knowledge, because philosophy is the most important result for anybody in their life. Religion, of course, they practice, but there may be some kind of difficulty to be practical in religiously, but philosophy will make them quite encouraged. And we have Indian knowledge systems. That's a very important, interesting, and it seems the India, this particular topic has been organized in a seminar like in the IIT Khargapur long years back, and that a kind of representation was done by so many scholars in 2011 also. I have a calendar here, I don't know. So this Indian knowledge systems, probably some people may be having. In this, they try to explain what covers the Indian knowledge system, because the system is science. Regulation is there and orderliness is there, high development is there. So it begins with the Sapta Rishis. Just because I don't want to take more time. First of all, we should thank the Veda Rishis, number of them, and they are the 7 primordial cosmic personages. They have made a lot of with regard to cosmology, astral and positional astronomy, and so on. And also we have got a very interesting system. Ancient knowledge is Arthashastra by Kautilya, and so there is also a great compliment given by great scholars like Mark Twain that India is the mother for all the knowledge. And then we have another important subject, that is the Bija Ganitam, the algebra or mathematics, and Jyotisha, and we have great compliments given by the scholars. And another interesting system is the Sanskrit language, which is natural, and the Sanskrit is the mother of all languages. And in Sanskrit, we have all kinds of branches of learning like philosophy, astrology, and religion, and cosmology, and anthropology, where everything is there about mythology. And afterwards, we have also to cover the chemical science in the knowledge systems, because even in the chemistry, we have so much of knowledge. The metaphysics is there, yoga is there, and so we have. So moreover, in the Bhagavad Gita, we have told Yoga Kshemam Vahamyaham. And then we have got the system, the Ayurveda, which contains about biological studies and at the same time medicine and curing and trying to know something about the entire holistic systems in our body. And so Ayurveda is one, Charaka Samhita, Susra Samhita, these are all the great scholars. So to say that we have a lot of scope in our Indian knowledge systems to pursue depending upon faculty and time availability and health. And again, we have got the Jyotish Shastra, and then astral and cosmological studies, and again Prakriti Vidya, the ecological and environmental sciences. For example, Atharvaveda contains the Prithvi Sukta in the 12th chapter, which is completely dedicated to give us a comprehensive knowledge about the importance and eulogy and a role of Prithvi upon that, because Prithvi is the base, Earth is the place, so Earth sciences are there. In fact, Raghava Buddupalli has done good work also on Earth sciences. He's going to represent in England some international conference on Earth sciences. And then we have got in Nyaya Shastra. Recently, our Jayanti has conducted a seminar to open her search for knowledge more and more deeper on the Nyaya Shastra. the systems of social and ecological ethics, logic, and law. And there, Max Muller makes a beautiful statement. Whatever sphere of the human mind you may select of your special study, whether it be language or religion or mythology or philosophy, whether it be laws of customs, primitive art or primitive science, everywhere you have to go to India, whether you like it or not, because some of the most malleable and most instructive materials in the history of man are treasured up in India, and in India only. That's what Max Muller, who is a German philologist and Orientalist, made a comment. And then, so there was also recognition and finally we have got also the Silpa Shastra and Natya Shastra, a classical art, dance, and there is also a good compliment given to the importance of the Natya Shastra. A Sanskrit treatise on performing arts is often attributed to sage Bharata, but its aesthetic foundation, the rasa theory, is the quintessence of all performance. Here, the performer experiences the expansion of his or her own consciousness and so on. And ultimately, they have also identified the modern scientists who have kept up the tradition and increased the knowledge. Something like I just read the names of them: Acharya Prafulla Chandra Rai, Indian chemistry; Acharya Jagadish Chandra Bose, Indian concept of life sciences; Acharya Srinivasa Raghavan Ramanujan, Indian mathematics; and Acharya Simha Chatterjee, Indian organic chemistry; Acharya A.K. Janaki Ammal, Indian botanist and planter, and so on. And finally, we got Acharya Iravati Karve. Everybody heard their names probably. Indian sociology and anthropology and all that. So this is how the scope of the topic or the subject that Dr. Jayanti has introduced in the series of our Veda Adhyayana Kendra monthly meet programs, and not much talking about that because it's an ocean, but still in that ocean, we are just trying to pick up ratnas. And so today we have a wonderful occasion where so many people have joined, and we are very thankful to all of them. And now, not much talking about Dr. Jayanti. Her talk will tell us how much deep she is. Thank you very much. Welcome, Dr. Jayanti. And before
Thank
that,
you, sir.
Before that, I just want to make the prayer songs, which we had, one in Kannada and Sanskrit. They represent the entire scholars that enhance the glory of Indian literature, and they are all poets and all that. And finally, we have got that Gayatri mantra and Gayatri Devi Stuti, because they're in different language. Therefore, I just wanted to make it. So these are the two important songs that have been presented on Sangeeta Anjali for today's program. Thank you, Ma. Welcome.
Thank you, sir, for the nice presentation and about you. Am I audible, sir?
Yeah, sure.
Can I share my PPT?
Yeah.
Sorry. Help me. Namaskaram to one and all present here. I'll begin my presentation with by saluting to all the gurus. Om Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Deva Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Sri Gurave Nama. Akhanda Mandalakaram, Vyaptam Yana Characharam, Tadpadam Darsitam Yana, Tasmai Sri Gurave Nama. Om Sri Gurave Namaha, Abhyayami, Tapayami, Pujyayami, Dhyayami, Tathato Namaskaram Karome. The topic of my presentation is revisiting Indian knowledge system and its contemporary relevance. First of all, my sincere and heartfelt gratitude to Professor C.L. Prabhakar, Director Nada Veda Adhyayana Kendra, and wider Association for Vedic Studies. And my sincere gratitude and respect to all the distinguished scholars present here. I'm little nervous, but so the topic why I have chosen this for many reasons. And so there is a kind of disinterestedness. And first of all, we would like to address the question that why should we talk about the revisiting Indian knowledge system? That is the main thing which I want to focus. And I have divided my presentation into 3 parts. First, I'll focus on why do we talk about revisiting Indian knowledge system? What are the contemporary problems? Second, try to understand Indian knowledge system through Darshanik Parampara. Third, is there any suggestive models which we can take from Indian knowledge system in order to resolve the contemporary problems? So my training is on philosophy. I'm not an expert in Sanskrit studies. So whatever I'll speak and give interpretation, taking the philosophical understanding into account. So the first of all, the problem is that what I found is that there is a lack of serious engagement between teacher and students, and thereby creating a state of disinterestedness in the contemporary. Mainly, I'll focus on the education system. And then there you find there is a mechanical lifestyle. Faith, commitment, and taking responsibility are no more there. Government education has failed to provide a quality of education. And what is something which is most important thing is that human to human touch is not there. Serious discourse, dialogue, debate, and discussions are no more part of teaching learning. Imparting partial knowledge because of incompetencies which one often finds within the knowledge discourse. So this is the basically serious problems like the teacher who are teaching also sometimes they also have not a complete knowledge, and that is the most dangerous thing when we teach the text. And if you do not have a complete knowledge, and it's very difficult, then you produce the students also, they are not having the complete knowledge. So that is also another problem often we face in the teaching learning process. Then the Praman Vyavastha used in contemporary education is creating division, differences, and hatredness. And that is a kind of generally when we go back to Indian tradition about Praman and the valid knowledge. And there we are looking for some kind of truth and establishing a system which can provide us a kind of holistic development. Then, but the way in the contemporary education system, we are using the source of knowledge. Basically, it is not providing a holistic education, rather creating differences in terms of religion or in terms of caste. So there is a constant fear and anger and stress which deteriorate our energy levels and cause our mental and physical suffering. And the desire for peace is an abstract idea. So these are the most important problems. And as I already said, quality, integrity are no more there. Sincerity, hard work, mutual understanding, and respect are not in practice. Compassion, gratitude are no more practice inside the institution. The curriculum doesn't provide enough space for practical learning and critical thinking. The curriculum doesn't provide space for physical, mental stability, thereby create stress, anxiety, and unhappiness in the mind of both teachers and students. A good educational institution is one in which every student feel welcomed and cared for, where a safe, stimulating learning environment exists, where wide range of learning experiences are offered, where good physical infrastructure and appropriate resources conducive to learning are available to all students. Attaining these qualities must be the goal of every educational institution. However, at the same time, there must be also seamless integration and coordination across institutions and across all stages of education. But these are the things which are missing in the contemporary education, and that is why I have taken this topic that whether some of the things we can bring from the ancient Indian knowledge system and apply for a sustainable model and to establish unity, peace, and many more things. So I can see the model which I can bring here is from the Guru Sisya Parampara, where you find that sometimes Guru is a spiritual guide. When I said spiritualism, it should not be taken as we understand generally that it is something, a kind of a transcendental sphere and something which is purely value loaded. Yes, of course, this is a value loaded philosophy, but beyond that also many things it takes into account. So there was a tradition where like in the Vedas, it is mentioned that Chitrang Bhatta Tarun Mure Vridha Sisya Guru Jova Gurastre Monobakshanam Sisyastre Hinasanchaya. So even silence, sometimes also silence removes our ignorance. That was a kind of tradition which the environment is also important, but you are teaching, how you are teaching, where you are teaching, all this, and that is something which was missing in today's contemporary educational system. Basically, when we talk about spiritual model and that dispels darkness, when I say darkness, darkness of the material world, that is prayers, where we are looking for a very mechanical style of doing everything, and replaces it with illumination, spiritual enlightenment, or shreyas. That was a kind of tradition we are having. One who was engaged in a tremendous amount of penance. And philosophy, especially whether it is a spiritual journey or it is a material journey, philosophy is a serious discourse. And that is something which is missing in every sphere. So coming back to Indian knowledge system, Indian philosophy is distinctive in its application of analytic rigor to metaphysical problems, rishi-centered philosophy on an assumption that there is a unitary underlying order, Rita, in the universe, which is all-pervasive and omniscient. The efforts taken by various ancient schools of Indian philosophy were concentrated on explaining this order and metaphysical entity as its source. The concept of natural law, dharma, provided the philosophical basis for understanding question of life on earth should be lived. The sages urges humans to discern this order and to live their lives in accordance with it. Ours is a Shastra Parampara from the very beginning. Indian tradition or Indian civilization is a knowledge-centered traditions. Indian civilization has accorded immense importance to knowledge. Its amazing vast body of intellectual text, the world's largest collection of manuscripts, and its attested tradition of texts, thinkers, and schools in so many domains of knowledge. And in Bhagavad Gita 4.33, Lord Krishna tells Arjun that knowledge is the great purifier and liberator of the self. India's knowledge tradition is ancient and uninterrupted like the flow of river Ganga from the Vedas to Syro-Arabian literature. Sri Aurobindo, knowledge has been at the center of all inquiry. So so we have to very clearly understand often we say that we do not have philosophy. So here I would like to say something like philosophy in India always been misunderstood and misconstrued by the scholars, saying that Indian philosophy is something which is moksha-centric. It is often said that the classical systems of Indian darshan are moksha-oriented, whereas the concept of philosophy has a different origin in the West, where philosophy is connected with the etymological analysis of the term. Love of knowledge, darshan is connected with moksha without having a serious investigation into it. Each darshan was engaged in constructing a metaphysical system and adhered to the belief that our knowledge of reality leads to the ultimate freedom of man. Ancient Indian philosophers showed genuine interest in the analysis of knowledge and argument in the criteria of knowledge that reveals reality, in the theories of logic and dialectics, in the search for a sound philosophical argument, and so on. The literature on these issues is very rich and varied, but unfortunately, this material lies buried under the treasure chest of Sanskrit texts. So that is a kind of we are looking for that to how to, because there is a we do not have much knowledge on Sanskrit when we teach philosophy, and the Sanskrit scholars, they also do not take a pen to introduce the system in a philosophical manner. So always we find a gap between the text and its interpretation. So when I said revisiting the ancient Indian knowledge system, mean the time has come to work on those texts and make them available to the young mind. Sound philological research is very useful even for genuine philosophical purposes. Now the time has come to disprove the claim of the West that darshans were primarily moksha shastra and philosophy was only incidental to them. During the ancient medieval period, writers of darsanas consciously and deliberately participated in the philosophical discussions and developed philosophical methodologies, which I'll discuss later part of my discussion. Ancient Indian knowledge system can be traced from the Vedas. Veda is derived from the root word Ved, which means to know. Veda stands for knowledge. Vedas are said to be the Shruti, the revealed text, which is eternal and authoritative. All the ancient Indian philosophical system developed their epistemological theory either by accepting the Vedic authority or rejecting the Vedic authority. There are four essential components involved in the ancient Indian knowledge system as metaphysics, tattva vichar, epistemology, praman vichar, ethics, purushartha vichar, and logic, tarka vichar. When it comes to the explanation of the empirical world, all these components are interrelated. All discussions on knowledge revolves around darshan, gyan, and vidya. It is said that darshan philosophy is the system, the point of view which else lead to jnana, knowledge. When knowledge gathered about a particular domain is organized and systematized for purpose of, says, reflection and pedagogy, it is called vidya or discipline. Indian philosophers showed genuine interest in the analysis of knowledge and argument in the critical in the search for sound philosophical argument and so on. The literature on these issues is very rich and varied. The ancient Indian knowledge system was never dogmatic. It was based on experiential learning. The Nyaya, the Vaisesik, and the Visishta Vedant, Visishtadvaita Vedant are the main systems of Indian philosophy that seem to give importance to the quality theory of knowledge. Gautam refers to knowledge through the term buddhi and states that the term upalabdhi and jnana are synonymous. Like other Nyayika, Jayanti is of the view that knowledge is the quality of the soul. Buddhi is the knowledge, not an instrument of knowledge. Indian philosophical systems have divergent views regarding knowledge, whereas Nyaya holds that knowledge is the product of the mind with the self, thereby giving a realistic explanation of the theory of knowledge. The Advaita theory of knowledge is based on eternal pure consciousness. Sakshat pratiti pratyeksham. Basan said, like Nyaya Darshan, other darsanas, as well of speak a fourfold classification of disciplines that forms the subject matter of study. Knowledge of Vedic scriptures, knowledge of agriculture and commerce, knowledge of politics and law, knowledge of philosophy, Anavikshi. Varsayan comments that each discipline has its own distinct method or prasthana, and this distinct method of the fourth one, Anavikshiki, or philosophy, is illustrated by its special examination of 16 categories, which includes means of knowledge, pramanas, objects of knowledge, prameya, validity or invalidity of arguments, pramagyana, and determination of truth, pramitya, and so on. In the tradition, knowledge has been constituted, stored, and maintained in the framework of the oral culture. According to the theory, knowledge is constituted in our own inner self. There is the antar-jnana constituted by the input of the senses, indriyas, processed by the mind, mana, and the intellect, buddhi, and finally constituted knowledge exists as our transformed alert self, chitta. Therefore, while both perception and inference are given primacy, epistemology, tarka, is also accorded an important place in the Indian mind, has not relied completely on mind and senses, and has accorded the central role in knowledge formation to meditation and deep reflection, chintan and manan. That is also we find in Advaita Vedanta, that method of triple application, Shravan, Manan, and Nididhyasan. Also, Sabda Praman has always enjoyed authority with major systems of thought. Seeing with the mind eye is the typical epistemology of Indian thought. The Jain thinkers interestingly define perception as Atma Pratyaksha, what is present to the inner self, and not as what is present to the sense. To put it in the contemporary vocabulary, the Indian mind has depended more on hypothetico-deductive methodology than an observational inductive methodology. So coming back to my understanding that there are various methods when we talk about Darshanik Parampara, starting from the Charvak to Vedanta and Vedas, Upanishad, of course, at the beginning. So we find there are various methods used inside philosophical studies. Darshanik Parampara, methods of questioning, what we find within the Upanishad, also in Buddhism, and throughout the system. Method of questioning is the very important method, which is probably we are missing within the current education system. Dialectical method of Nagarjuna and critical approach of Charvak, Buddhism, Jainism, etc. Then there is a phenomenological method practiced by, this method is practiced by almost all schools of Indian philosophy, but mostly the emphasis is from the Advaita side. Then there are two models which works within the Indian philosophical systems, and that is called Sota Pramanyabad model of Advaita Vedanta and Mimamsa, and Parata Pramanyabad model is Nyaya. Then there is a neti method, not this and not this method, not sat, not asat, therefore it is sat. So that is introduced by the Upanishad. Then there is Shravan, Manan, and Nididhyasan, logical method, addition and subtraction, and this is a something which is something which this is a I have introduced myself, but I don't know whether I'll make it clear to you people or not. So generally we take mathematics as a kind of has nothing to do with our life situations, and what is missing in today's context, especially I don't want to be a very great people are great philosophers, but what I found is that in today's world, what is missing is something to be human. So we talk so much of Shastra Parampara, so much of many things, but when it comes to human relationships, something which is missing, and the problem of this whole world is to understand the relationships. And there I found that something, if we go by adding some mathematical principle and come to 100, and then if you can give something positive, this is the PQRST, I put it, that always in not negative thinking, but a positive thinking. You can have to any kind of 5% if you can help somebody, and if you can think good things about others or you help others. So if you calculate that way and come to the 100%, that is a kind of happiness model, adding the positive qualities. And the same time, if you go by subtracting the negative qualities and put the P as a 50, then P as an ego, and minus Q, that you do not have a something else, anger. And then you ego minus anger, then if you have 30, and then if you have a R and minus S, and then R also equally, if you put 50, and S again another two negative qualities, then 30 minus 30, ego minus ego, then you can come to 0, and 0 become also, when you do not have negative qualities, then you are in the state of happiness. So by subtracting the negative qualities and by adding the negative positive qualities, and you get the happiness. And here also by subtracting the negative qualities, you also get the happiness. So 0 is equal to 100. And so that is how I understand that. I always believe in that somewhere you have to have, there are problems in life, but if we talk only problems and creates the differences and ego through any ideological policies, then we cannot change the world. And the whole world is facing the problem of ego. And and of course, this method is the method of Indian epistemological model. And that is how Yama plus Niyam is bliss. So we teach in the classroom how to practice the Yam and Niyam, Ahimsa, Satya, Asteya, Parigraha, and the Brahmacharya. So what was there in ancient Indian knowledge systems? So there was a serious engagement with Guru Sisya Parampara. So that means there was a bonding, whether we talk about Yama and Nachiketa, or any kind of discourse like between the Sankaracharya and the Mandan Mishra, Ashtabhakta and Bandi, Swetaketu and Uddalak. So it was a Jnana Parampara. So we have 4 paths of knowledge. One is Jnana Marg, and one is Bhakti Marg, and one is Karma Marg, and one is the Raj Yoga. So yoga is a basically discipline, and discipline of mind and body. So many times we do not, in the contemporary educational system, this thing is missing, serious engagement with the Guru Sisya, which was there within the ancient Indian knowledge system. And if we want, we also can create and re-establish some of the things. Faith, duty. So faith is something which is no more there. The bonding, the faith, the trust factor is no more there within the educational institution. And duty, discipline, determination, acceptance, accommodation, assimilation, recognition. As Hegel also said, these ideas are very important in order to have a healthy society and a kind of positive or a society which is strong or based on holistic development. The formation of ideas through Praman, Vanan, and Nididhyasan, practice of sadhana chatustra, these are the things which is required in the present education system. And that's why we have to revisit the Indian knowledge system. And when I inquire about Indian ancient knowledge system, I found that method of questioning is part of the ancient Indian knowledge system. So that is the example we get from the Kena Upanishad. It's that the slok says that Kena sitam presitam manaha, Kena pranaha prathama pratiti yukta, Kena sitam vachamimam badanti, Chakhu srotam kau deva yunakti. So at whose desire and by whom impelled does the mind alight on its object? By whom impelled do man utter this speech? what luminous being directs the eyes and the ears. So the most important thing in this education or anywhere else, we find that this thing is missing because partly because everything is become professionalism is working there, and we are very calculative that we are even also when we are teaching with a certain framework, which should not be the case, but is there. We are dealing with the students with a particular syllabus and syllabi. We have attention how to complete it. So there is a missing that within 1 hour, many things cannot be discussed. So that's why the part of questioning, which was there within that tradition, and not to limit it to any kind of mechanism, a specific mechanism. And there, both the students and teacher bonding was strong, and it was a healthy discourse. So in the Kena Upanishad, it is said that the eye doesn't go thither, not the speech, not the mind. We do not know it, we do not understand how we have or known. Thus we have heard from the perceptor of old who taught it to us. Without knowledge of the knower, when the knower is in ignorance about himself, the whole structure of knowledge is baseless. Thus, the method of questioning is an important contribution of the ancient Indian knowledge system to the whole world. This method of questioning was a part of the Shruti text as well as carried forward by Smriti texts such as Bhagavad Gita, discourse between Arjun, ask questions to Krishna, Mahabharata Yaksh Prasna to Yudhishthir. However, this type of questioning is no more practiced among students in the 21st century. Various factors are responsible for the creation of disinterestedness among the students as well as teachers. The mobile culture has changed the traditional set of learning. The present education system has created consumeristic culture and developed a mechanical life. So that is my perception. Maybe I'm wrong, but that is how it gives you pain when you see that the entire world is moving and leading a kind of mechanical life. So that is a kind of method of questioning was a part of Indian knowledge discourse. So that many times people say that Indian tradition is very rigid, but though I find that in Indian tradition is very flexible, it gives you freedom, it debate, dialogue, and discussions are part of the ancient Indian knowledge system. That is the second essential element is the dialogue, debate, discussion between Guru and Sisya. The Shastrat between Yama and Nachiketa, Astabhakra and Bondi, Swetaketu, Uddala, Yagyamalkya, Gargi, and Mandan Mishra and Sankaracharya are highly significant. So Gargi said, "Oh Agyabalka, I shall ask you two straightforward questions. Answer me this." So this is what I'm just leaving not to read these questions because the whole idea is that there was a dialogue, but that dialogue and debate discussion is also missing within the classroom. So then there is a multidisciplinarity is a part of ancient Indian knowledge system. The Indian knowledge center tradition mentions 18 major vidyas or theoretical disciplines and 64 kalas, applied vocational disciplines and crafts. The 18 vidyas are as follows: the 4 Vedas, 4 subsidiary Vedas, Ayurveda, medicine, Dhanurved, weaponry, Gandharva Ved, music, Silpa, architecture, Purana, Nyaya Mimamsa, Dharma Shastra, and Vedangas, 6 auxiliary sciences, phonetics, grammar, astronomy, ritual, and philology. These form the basis of 18 sciences in ancient India. As far as the applied sciences are concerned, there are competing enumeration of 64. Science and religion are never tuned with each other, rather they work together. Progress in science has never been a hindrance to spiritual growth in ancient India. The disciplines like astronomy, mathematics, chemistry, physics, and medicine flourished together in India. Rules and disciplines are followed clearly mentioned in the Vedic text as well as in Charak Samhita, Aryabhata, road physics, mathematics and astronomy. Advances in science and technology are the main reason for the growth of human civilization. India has been contributing in the field of science, technology, and since ancient times. So that is how we can see the tradition is rich and complex. Even today, what we call traditional knowledge is actually based on scientific reason. Indians developed advanced mathematics, including the concept zero, the best 10 decimal system now in the use worldwide, and many important trigonometrics and algebra formula. They made several astronomical discoveries. Diverse schools of logic, philosophy proliferated. India's Panini is acknowledged as the founder of linguistics, and Sanskrit grammar is still the most complete and sophisticated of any language in the world. So what is most important thing is that there is an open-mindedness, a broad outlook that reflects its unflinching devotion to truth, distinguishes Indian philosophy. Each school is open to the views of other schools. There was nothing like this as the best system or the only way to self-realization. And that is the very fact that each school is accepting other or criticizing for the development is something shows that open-mindedness within the Indian knowledge system. The established system of philosophy exposition in the Indian tradition involves explaining and criticizing the prior view of the subject, then refuting views and describing a subsequent view that takes you to a higher level of final theory. Because of a continuous exchange of ideas, the philosophical system have with time become more sophisticated and complete. So I don't, so this unsaid knowledge system focused on knowledge of the states, participatory research, interactive learning, open-mindedness, autonomy, human dignity, and respect. This is the most important thing we must take up from the Darshanik Parampara. And when I've read all the translation of the text, I found that Upanishad 100 with Upanishad not only teaches you the metaphysical explanation of the reality, but also the emphasis is on the moral values and how to be a human is you can by reflecting yourself and by removing the wrong bad qualities which is within us, and then we can reach to the self and know the knower. Then the concept of the know the knower comes. So the interestingly in Indian philosophical system we find the metaphysics, epistemology, ethics, and logic are altogether interrelated. So when we talk about metaphysics, there is a corresponding epistemology and value system. Underlying values are also there. And the focus is on holistic education, which means individuals' mental, physical, social, material, emotional, spiritual development. And interestingly, we find that the emphasis is on the mind, the concept of mind, which we are not focusing on. So, and there is a beyond the mind, there is a concept of self, and which removes all negativities within you. And in fact, there is you only can see that what you are. Your existence will be defined by the consciousness which is within you, that is the witness consciousness. So the idea of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, to cherish the idea of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, this is the only tradition that which speaks about that irrespective of the differences, how we can live together, and that is how I'll just quickly that show the slides that this is a slide of the Upanishad where Guru Sisya Parampara was there, and the concept of Atman, and Atman is something which is all pervasive. Atman provides the consciousness, awareness of each living being, that by which we know from taste, smell, sounds, and loving touches. By that also we know what exists besides. This experiential knowledge will give liberation from sansar. When we talk about liberation, is always being used in a particular sense, But if we go by interpretation and to make it more open to the people, then it can be used also in a different sense. That is why I believe that moksha doesn't mean that always we can talk in relation to transmigration of the soul or something which is a higher state which you cannot experience. But moksha can be always taken as a kind of value oriented concept. Through that state you can change yourself, or this state allows you to change the negative things which you are having and come to a state of infinity. So that is the whole idea of the self in the Upanishad, that how to define your existence. Who am I? Whether I am a mind, or I am a body, or I am sense organs, or I'm nothing but the self. So that division has clearly brought out by Advaita Vedanta when Shankaracharya said that Brahma Satya Jagat Mithya Dive Brahmaiva Napara. So the problem of the whole world is understanding that the relationship between the Brahma and the Maya. And Maya is something which is always creates problem, like the mind and its desire. So this is how, when we come to the self theory, we find there is a self false ego. This is the source of human suffering, or unhappiness, because of the false ego is a product of attachment to what is non-enduring. So the whole world is facing the problem when we talk about ideological things, that I'm right or you are wrong. So that false ego creates a problem within the relationship. And then we cannot pronounce Aham Brahmasmi, the Mahavakyas like Aham Brahmasmi, Tattvamasi, Sarvam Khalu Idam Brahma, and Ayam Atma Brahma. So that is the reason why the whole scenario, if we see that contemporary, I said, revisiting Indian knowledge system and its application on contemporary problems. The contemporary education system mostly guided by a kind of authoritarian structure, and where you find that there is no freedom to work, and there is no freedom to explore your ideas. Everybody is working within a domain of ego, and there is an identity always required to establish yourself, and people are more worried to satisfy their ego and identification. And if we work like this, then we cannot talk about a healthy society, nor we can establish a institution which is something based on the human values. So that there is that's why I like Advaita philosophy, because it speaks about what is appearance is not the reality, and what is reality is not the appearance. And we always work within the framework of appearance and try to prove ourselves that what we are doing is the right thing. And there is a problem of understanding I and you. So there also Buddhism, as I said, I'm talking about the Darshanik Parampara and trying to bring them together, because each system is giving you something, whether it is Charvak, materialism, or Buddhist dependent origination theory, or it is Jaina Anekantavada theory, or it is a kind of Nagarjuna's doctrine of Sunyata. So if you diverse way of understanding one thing, that how to establish unity and peace in the society. And there are various methods are being taken. And one of the methods taken by Buddha is the conditionality or the dependent origination theory. So that is a kind of, Buddha said that ya vikhyava pratitya samutpadam pasyati, sa buddham pasyati, ye buddham pasyati, sa dhammam pasyati. So those who know pratitya samutpad or conditionality interdependence theory, that interdependence element was, though it was not there within the earlier Buddhism, but Nagarjuna has clarified that how important it is to have all the systems stays together and flourish together. So that is how you find that whereas there is a anthropocentric approach within the Western philosophical model, but there is a cosmocentric approach taking everybody into account, the nature into account, and they develop the philosophy, a kind of holistic philosophy. So the doctrine of dependent origination says that as long as you are there within the desire which is limited and finite, so then you have to suffer. Suffering is a state of life. And once you leave that desire, then you come to the state of nirvana. So this conditionality framework has been changed within the case of Nagarjuna's philosophy. And he said that the dukkha, because in earlier Buddhism, the Pratitya Samutpada theory or Jara Maran Chakra, Bhava Chakra, Sansar Chakra used to understand the desire and its suffering. But Nagarjuna said that why do we talk only about dukkha? We can also talk about the sukha. So there is nothing wrong with having the dukkha or not having the sukha. So both of them can stay together. So the whole idea of conditionality in later Buddhism, it changed. And there we find a kind of interdependence or coexistence theory, that it is a continuous, there is no essence, but there is a interdependent existence. And then he said that na sansarasya nirvana kinchit asti visheshanam, na nirvana sansarasya kinchit asti visheshanam. Jahan nirvana hai, jahan desire hai, wahi sukh hai, wahi dukh hai. So there is you should not. So whereas earlier Buddhism provides a kind of finite limitations to understanding the reality, but Nagarjuna has given you that how everybody or all ideologies can stay together, and that is the probably the richness of the Indian philosophical systems, that where you can accept and accommodate through a particular value system, and that which is missing in today's scenario, whether it is the economic development or political development or social development, the model has not yet been changed. The same within same framework, within a finiteness, within a kind of narrow thinking, we all are working. And there the concept of Jaina doctrine of Anekanta theory, Anekantavadi theory is important, because manyness of the reality. And this six blind man and one elephant, it of course tells us that how important it is to have your own perspective, and that is why everyone is right on their own way. And that is the principle of Ahimsa. Because of that Ahimsa theory, they have accepted that the reality can have diverse aspects. You can be a Buddhist, you can be a Charvak, you can be a materialist, and you can be a theist. So there are multiplicity has been accepted, diversity in India is always being cherished. So we have to go back to that tradition to bring this Nagarjuna philosophy or Buddhist philosophy, Maitreyi, Karuna, Metabhavana, the things like Bodhisattvahood, things like Sadhan Chatushta, and to apply the contemporary education system, and things will change. It is often said that Charvak is being mistreated, or Charvak philosophy has not been developed properly. And but one of the element that criticism by the Charvak, we can see that in India we also allow the criticism to take place, and criticism is always a healthy form of development. And apart from that, yes, there are some kind of interpretation, because we lost many texts. So that is the way we lost Charvak's text also. So what is available in front of us is Madhavacharya's Sarvadarshan Sangra. And that is also a contradiction which often comes to my mind. One way, when we talk about Vedic philosophy and talk about matter within the Rig Veda tradition, and we said we worship matter. And when Charvak speaks the same thing, and we said that Rinam Krutva Yavat Jivet Sukham Jivet, Rinam Krutva Grutam Pivet, Bhasmi Buddhasya Dehasya, Punaragamanayascha. So that what is I'm trying to bring to all of you is that unless and until we change ourselves, then we cannot change the society. And most important thing is that students are looking at the teachers to help them out from the mental stress, and they do not know their traditions. They do not, the system doesn't allow to know them, that their traditions and cultures. And thanks to national education policy, that they have introduced some value loaded courses where students are reading the text, Indian text, and relating them to their culture and philosophy. And then I said that I like Nagarjun for many reasons, that partly because he teaches that you can have many positions in life and not just one position. He said that Sunyamiti Navaktavyam, Asunyamiti Bhavet, Ubhayam Nabhayam Cheti, Pragya Pratyartham tu Katyate. So always we think that logic and logic argumentation, we can reach to a conclusion. That may not be always the case. Many times you have to have generate the faith, and you have to transcend the logical argumentation to establish the infinity, or to establish the relationship. So you have to go beyond the argumentation, and that is how the reality in Nagarjun's theory, Tetralama logic, that pragya is the highest wisdom, nisobhabhyata, or the pragya. So ultimately, finally, my submission is that we can have a pedagogy, that we can have a method like Sadhan Chatustra, one of the method developed by Vedant, and the Panchakos method, make people understand their limitations and introduce these concepts to the educational platform to remove the all sort of limitations, and to make them that if we have a healthy life, that if we manage to have a Annamaya course, and then we have a Pranmaya, Vigyanmaya, Manomaya, and Anandamaya. So all these things are interrelated. And what is most important thing in Indian knowledge system is something that it is something which is very experiential. It's each and every aspect of life they are trying to analyze, and through the mind and indriyas, 24 elements developed by Sankhya system, 36 elements developed by Saivism. Just to ignore and just to criticize your own tradition just because you do not like that ideology is not actually healthy way of understanding the things. And that is how that we have to have a Panchakos model where the students can understand the significance of Annamaya course, Pranamaya course, Manmaya course, and the Vigyanmaya course. So that Vigyan and Anandmaya course, the concept of Anand is something which is most important thing, and that is missing. And that is a take by the Indian philosophical system, which nobody else can understand except the Indian mind, that bliss. And we do not talk about pleasure, we do not talk about happiness, but we speak about the anand, or the bliss. And that is a necessary conditions in today's world to change the situation and to establish a kind of healthy life, holistic life. So I'll conclude here. Sarve bhavantu sukhina, sarve santu niramaya, sarve bhadrani pasyantu, ma kaschis dukha bhavet. May all be happy. May all free from disabilities. May all behold what is a species. May none suffer from sorrow. Thank you all. Thank you, sir. Thanks, sir.
Thank you, madam. Very nice talk. So happy to hear all of the relevance to our education system, which is, I think you took a very good position of relating it to our education system, because that's where everything starts. And how you talked about multidisciplinarity and collegiality and creating that environment where the guru, as you said, has done the penance and is the inspiration and the source for driving knowledge with the students. It's very well put, madam. So happy to hear your talk. Nana, you want to give some remarks?
Yeah. So thank you very much, madams. You have just took us to so many layers of knowledge, fields of knowledge, and ultimately trying to know that it's a say Vidya, Sagara, Kala, Prapancha. Then we have also Gnana Sagara. So in this kind of knowledge system, quite wide and deep, we had to find some ratnas, and you have been able to make a brief survey of any and everything connected to knowledge system. And of course, karmana bhajyate jantuhu gnanena vimuchyate is Shankara's statement. Simple. So karma is one which entices all people to a number of things, but trying to understand and realize and experience and then practice, these will be able to get some kind of relief, bondage. So everything is going, and one more important thing is about the questions and answers. In fact, Shankara Prashnottara Malika Upanishad. So put some questions, then you'll get answer. So like that, we have that kind of investigating and finding out truths. That zeal is there very much in our Indian system, because only prasnena, pariprasnena, these are all things going on. You have given wonderful thought concept and also clues by which we can enhance our knowledge and also elicit knowledge and information and technology from others who are in their respective fields. And therefore, we are very happy. Thank you very much for making such a beautiful presentation in a limited time, but you are able to manage the time and system and philosophy behind it. And we have two great philosophers also. And one, Dr. Engelalli, is there looking at us, a great philosopher, especially in Nyaya system. And he's the head of department of philosophy and for several years, and also emeritus professor of Karnataka University, Dharwad. He was our good friend of our Veda Kendra, constantly watching what is going on. So for this kind of topic, I found Dr. Engelalli Rachappa. She is the right person also to comment something. So I request Dr. Engelalli to just make some observations. Oh, sorry, you're mute. Unmute. You are mute again.
Yes.
Yes. Welcome, sir.
Are you hearing me? Hello?
Yeah, we are hearing you. Go on. Oh, Rita is also here.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Jayanti. Always a pleasure listening to you. There are a few points which I just wanted to call your attention to. One was, I'm so happy that
You're mute, sir.
Sir, you are muted.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Professor Jayanti Sahoo, for a very, very comprehensive idea of ancient knowledge systems, especially with reference to Indian philosophical systems. I was very much reminded of Sri Aurobindo's, and where he talks about the richness of Indian systems, which have been generally not been understood very well by the colonial mind, and where he said that actually we are not only spiritual, we have great respect for the material culture, we have great respect for archery, we have great respect for everything, and that's what you brought out in your presentation. However, I have 2 or 3 things for your reference, which you would, I think you'd be very competent to respond to that. Number one, at the time of Indian modernity, when we were looking at Dwijendranath, Keshav Chandra Sen, Raja Ram Mohan, they were also very cognizant of the ancient Indian knowledge systems, but they had very carefully recommended certain kind of changes and an expansion in that. Say, for instance, in the ancient Gurukul, there were restrictions of who would come in and who would not come in. There were also certain things in this Indian social system which had a certain kind of restrictions on who's eligible and who's not eligible. And these were then taken care of by the reformists. And as you rightly said, the national education policy and the modern universities provide us with a forum where actually everybody can get in touch with the ancient knowledge systems as well as the medieval knowledge systems. So I think that improvement done by the modernity should also be taken into consideration. So when you look at Aurobindo, Vivekanand, Ram Mohan and the others, and their look of the ancient knowledge system, that I think would be very important. Secondly, I think I want you to answer to look at this question: is the Indian knowledge system an Indian knowledge system or only a knowledge system? Because to my mind, when you look at Tattva Vidya, Atma Vidya, they are just talking about our quest for the nature of truth rather than anything specific which belongs to India. The other thing is, which I also wonder, and that is something which I want you to respond. When we look at the ancient injunctions, like the small-minded people talk about mine and yours in the sense of Laghu Chetasam and Udar Charitanam Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, that is in fact an injunctive statement that the seers are saying, this is the way we should be thinking, that from small-mindedness, we should rise up to large-heartedness and treat the world like a kutum. Now, this is not at all an expression of the fact that people in India, from the rishis to the kings, ever believed the world to be a kutum. Because you know that there were small fights amongst family people. The Mahabharata is a good evidence. The texts of the Mudra Rakshas are an evidence. And the whole history of India is as bad as anywhere else when it comes to fighting with each other in the world. So the Indian people did not live by the spirit of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, though they had it as a part of their ethical injunction. So we cannot take a special pride in that. We could have taken pride on that only if at any given time we did believe in Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. I don't think we ever did. We need to, and we need to do that again. So these were my three observations on which I think that you are a very learned speaker. You would be able to help us understand it.
Hello, Prasad ji. Hello. Hello. Hello, Prasad.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Hello, may I speak with Professor Inglali?
Yes,
from
sir.
this?
Yes, sir. Yes.
So I am eager to offer my observations and some encouraging views covered by the scholar, the speaker. The speaker, Dr. Jayanti Devi, covered a vast field of Indian philosophy. And it is something like in the beginning, she put a sort of Jidnyasa orientation, that is regarding the indigenous knowledge systems, say Adha Vidya Jidnyasa, to put in Sanskrit word, like a Brahma Jidnyasa, Vidya Jidnyasa. Of course, understanding of Vidya is meaningful, along with its another word, Avidya. There is a beautiful analysis in Ishavasya Upanishad, and it provides best criteria for modern education system without drawing a line of demarcation between the Eastern or the Western. This is the one point. And I appreciate the speaker's fast coverage of the subject and her likeness to some of the systems, even though they are, say, diametrically opposite, like Vidhandavadi and Nagarjuna and Adi Shankaracharya, like that. So I am not going to evaluate or assess whatever it is. It is like something like, say, a good cook say, who takes so many vegetables, whether it is a bitter or whether it is sour, and prepares a good food like that. So I appreciate your talk like that. But I would like to add, as say retired professor of philosophy, dean of the faculty of social science, I conducted say UGC national seminar, and our great scholar Professor Prabhakar was also invited for that one. And UGC, the highest educational authority in our free India, University Grants Commission, I'm very happy to announce to the learned audience that recently they have opened some sort of the channel of modern education, IKS system, Indian knowledge systems, to give better orientation, irrespective of any branch of modern knowledge, whether they're in arts or commerce or whatever it be, they should have a broad understanding of Indian knowledge system. And UGC has given certain broad guidelines also to understand better Indian knowledge systems. So it is not the case that we should not project our understanding, misunderstanding, our ignorance about the systems of the philosophy. And again, I have got one more additional point, that the present day Indian system of philosophy, for my observation, is lopsided. I make it very clear. About few years back, I had an occasion, extraordinary occasion, to guide a retired High Court judge, and his title was Indian Philosophy of Nada and its Local Applications. And he was MA Philosophy, LLM, and then I had to say reflect on the conceptual framework of modern Indian philosophy. Many people may not know who started writing Indian philosophical systems historically, say in the chronological order. To my mind, I discovered that Right Honorable Friedrich Max Muller, he published 6 systems of Indian philosophy, say at the age of 74 or 75. And afterwards, the great scholars like Surendranath Banerjee and our, say, Honorable past President of India, Radhakrishnan, they later these works follow. And you see the conceptual framework, which I have discovered it is a lopsided and it is too narrow. They begin with the Veda, and many people have even forgotten that one. Indian philosophy means Saddarshanas, Astika, Nastika. No, but thanks to Dasgupta ji and Professor Radhakrishnan, first volume begins with the Vedic, the Vedas and then Upanishads. Therefore, they are also the systems along with the 6 systems. I call it as a Veda Darshana, Upanishad Darshana, then Saddarshanas, then these heterodox, the Charvaka, Jainism, Buddhism, like that. This is one point. And another, like, I have critically observed the contents of that great historical book written on Indian philosophy by great scholar of 15th century in Vijayanagara dynasty of Karnataka, that Madhvacharya, Sarva Darshana Sangra, about 16 systems. And there I discovered that it is also lacks comprehensiveness. So here my suggestion is that we have forgotten the tradition of the great scriptures parallel to our Vedic literature, Agamas. We have 20 Saiva Agamas, Shakta Agamas, Pancharatra Agamas. And present day Indian civilization, where there are magnificent great temples are there, and even in Great Britain, there is Swaminarayan temple with Italian marbles. Say, for all these things, say we have to thank our Agama, say the scholars. And there is no opposition between Agamas and Vedas. And one Tamil scholar says, if Veda is a royal road and Agamas are like milk giving cows, which are comfortably walking, so there should be a coordination. And unfortunately, even today, I am thinking of making it a very comprehensive system of Indian philosophy. And even thanks to Sir John Marshall, and he has given the clue to say that there are wonderful philosophical and yogic ideas in Harappan Sanskriti. And while guiding one of my students, I directly referred to the archaeological survey of then British India, where Sir John Marshall was the director of it. And there is a beautiful observations and all those things. So, and in those days, there was advanced pre-Vedic Indian philosophy. So my student, the retired High Court judge, he started his Indian philosophy from Harappan civilization. where Shiva, concept of Shiva and Shakti, right now we're having, they are borrowed from that great civilization. And Sir John Marshall says it was singularly advanced civilization in the world. And so the conceptual framework of Indian philosophy will be fairly comprehensive if and only if we show the generosity of oncoming. Otherwise, there is no chance to think of the future of Indian philosophy. We must incorporate the Agama systems. Accordingly, for 6 systems, I add, say, Saiva system, and then Shakta system. And then you see, Pancharatra Agamas are there, Shakta Agamas are there. Say, once I sent to there is one Western American scholar on behalf of, say, Indian tradition, he has done a great noble work, that series of Indian philosophies, right from bibliography to Nyaya Vaisheshika. And then I had to send him, at that time he was in, Washington University. So you have taken the consideration of all these systems of philosophy, but you have forgotten Shakta philosophy, which provides, say, very important concepts like Maya, Shakti, and other things to every system. And he entrusted that work to me. I prepared two schools, Veerashaiva philosophy, that is to be added to the Sarvadarshan Sangraha, and Shakta philosophy also. So Madhvacharya has forgotten to include Veerashaiva philosophy. Of course, it is very popular in Karnataka and elsewhere, and Shakta philosophy. That should be incorporated. I have the manuscript, and unfortunately it is there. The time will come to publish it. So the comprehensive Indian, conceptual Indian philosophical system should begin with even Harappan Samskruti, because in the Rigveda Samhita, in the first mandala itself, there, even though according to, thanks to United Nations organizations, authorities, because they have identified and put in the list the world heritage. Our Rigveda Samhita is there. In the first mandala, there the most ancient document of the humanity refers to uses the word ancient. It means prior to the most ancient Rigveda Samhita, there was something. And something chronologically prior is our Harappan Samskruti and elsewhere. And thanks to Swamiji Vivekananda, as a Rishi Vivekananda I call him, so lot of Veda is lost in the passage of the time. It is possible for the possibility of formulating new Vedic mantras or the formulas and so on. And the another important point that I have noticed in the course of the lecture of the great scholar, of course, he has got a certain enthusiasm. Say, why should we take into interest in this Indian knowledge systems and its contemporary relevance? And once again, I go to Nyaya Shastra. It is there in Kautilya's Artha Shastra, thanks to Kautilya, and he has given some clue to take care of indigenous knowledge systems and the future of knowledge systems based on that one. Pradeepaha sarva vidyanam, ashraya sarva dharmanam, upaya sarva karmana, anvikshiki vidya, Nyaya Shastra, like that. So even in the Western tradition, in Aristotle, who is called the father of logic, while teaching philosophy or logic, I always make it specific that Aristotle is called as maybe called as the father of Western logic, and here we have Indian fathers of logic, like Gautama Maharshi. So whatever it may be, there in Aristotle, in the Western tradition, it is called science of sciences, logic is the science of sciences, and art of arts. But this is one point. And again, the indigenous, now the time has come for the Indian systems of knowledge. And of course, the philosophers have raised the question, what is knowledge itself? And long back, say in the Academy of Plato, in his dialogues, put the question, what is knowledge? And in my thesis, Shabda Pramana and Epistemological Analysis, 2 chapters I have devoted to what is knowledge in the Western context I have analyzed. In the Western context, it is justified true belief. Knowledge is justified true belief. Something, it gives the implication, semantically, it implies the meaning of Pramakaranam Pramanam. Prama means Yatartha Anubhava, and Pramakaranam Pramanam, like that. In Indian epistemology list, that's why the Right Honorable Max Muller in 6 Systems of Indian Philosophy has made a right observation that, say, Indian philosophical systems, they exclusively devote, say, one of the chapters for epistemology. Prameya, Siddhi, Pramana, say without Pramanas, a Prameya, Siddhi cannot be there. In order to understand the reality or the knowable objects, we must have the Pramana Vyavastha. So, now the concern for the speaker, and she is very much concerned and she is also optimistic and without bothering about the internal contradictions of the systems. And I once again remember that great Acharya, Madhvacharya, in his introduction, he says, even though I started from, say, diametrically opposite system Charvaka and ends with the Adi Shankaracharya Advaita Vedanta, and say, Sahridayas, the sane-minded people must appreciate, just as, say, the different colored flowers, they go into, say, making of the garland and makes a beautiful garland. Just as we appreciate the garland of different colors, I have made this kind of an attempt. So, Sahardayas, what they should take, they have, of course, their internal contradiction may be there. You take the right thing and appreciate them like that. So here, now there is a great challenge. About some years back, I appreciate the authorities of the Advaita Ashram in Calcutta, and they are running internationally reputed magazine, Prabuddha Bharata, started by the great Swami Vivekananda, Prabuddha Bharata. They requested me, because of my contact with that system, I used to say time to time review some of the books, and I also published my, say, one of the magnum opus or a very important article, Advaita Doctrine of Mahavakyas in Prabuddha Bharata. And soon after the say completion of my Shabda Pramana and epistemological analysis, independent of, and they appreciated. And this is an extraordinary article. We are going to recommend it to, say, our Belur Mat probationary of sannyasis, something like that. It was his greatness. So they requested me to write some important, send some article for their annual issue. I, after thinking, say, I am somewhat familiar with Professor Hirayana's great scholars' work, Mission of Indian Philosophy. So I had to think in a different way, and I, say, succeeded in submitting, say, Mission of Indian Philosophy. In Mission of Indian Philosophy, I give on focus to two great systems. Even today, they are, say, very much alive, and they are also giving light not only to our this Asian subcontinent, to the entire world. Even say soon after Vivekananda's victory in the that world platform of World Parliament of Religions, UNO is also identifying what is positive in indigenous systems of knowledge and so on. So that is published about 8 or 10 years back. Say the speaker's concern is this, that the world is once again immersed in the mud of miseries. And here I remember this word from the text of the great system builder Navanayayaka Gangesha Upadhyaya of 14th century. Gangesha Upadhyaya, after he compliments the Prachina Nayayika, say Gautama Maharshi. Gautama Maharshi was a Parama Karunika, not Buddha Deva. Gautama Buddha not he referring, the Gangesha Upadhyaya. Gangesha Upadhyaya, he flourished there. He was a Maithili Brahmin, and he is Tattva Chintamani. So even the best scholar in Sanskrit, without the knowledge of a few passages of Tattva Chintamani, say he lacks to be called as a scholar, says the Satish Chandra Vidyabhushanji. He was so tough, and I was very lucky to take some lessons from my Shankaracharya Pathshala of Prakanda Pandit Bhalchandra Shastriji in my Dharwad. So after joining my PG center, so there he says how to come out of the mud of miseries, not on account of the development of science and technology or political agenda and so on. Say Gautama Maharshi Sodasa Padartha. Pramana, Prameya, Samshaya, Ityadi, Tattva Jnanat, Nishraya, Sadhigamaha. And in Nyaya Vaisheshika, there is some sort of amalgamation. Padartha Tattvajnanat Parama Prayojana Moksha Iti Ramaniyam, Annambhatta of Andhra Pradesh of 17th century. In a beautiful way in his Tarka Sangraha and Tarka Deepika, he summarizes. So, Indian philosophical systems, they are guiding, they are encouraging, they are alive, and it is the responsibility of the scholars to identify and make use of those systems. And so, therefore, especially in Indian systems, Nyaya, Vaisheshika, and of course, we have to appreciate Kapila Maharshi and yoga system. Now, according to BBC certificate, British Broadcasting System of England, and I was so happy to read the BBC statement about yoga. You see, now the yoga is ruling the entire world. And we should be thankful to the Maharshi Patanjali and all other Bhashakaras, and including Maharshi Yogi and Western scholars, do have those who have contributed. Otherwise, the concept of nirvana, and again we see there in the Mandukya Upanishad, there is the fourth major state of restful alertness. How to make a good sense of that one? Thanks to Western psychologists encouraged by Maharshi Yogi, he conducted psychobiological experiments while doing meditation. Meditation not nearly a transcendental, but any kind of meditation, because Prakriti is the great guru, and Prakriti guides the human beings at what time? Because, say, Prakriti has given it three important states: Jagrata, Swapna, Susupti, and there is the fourth major state of restful alertness, that is the Turiya state, and that is the real state, that is the Atma state. So even today, our Upanishads, that's why our systems, 6 systems plus 3 systems, no. Veda Darshana, I call it, not just only Vedas, Veda Darshanas, and there is also epistemology, there is a logic, and I am just trying to systematize. And then Upanishadic Darshanas, there is epistemology, ontology, and ethics. And the speaker didn't refer to another important branch of philosophy. And according to me, philosophy, even though it sounds like an English word, it is primarily a Greek word, philosopher Sophia, love of wisdom. That is equal to our darshana. Darshana means tattvajnana, sadhana, shastra, darshan. Tattvajnana se sadhana. It is not darshana means simply a vision or something like that. It is, it consists of vidya. So in Indian knowledge systems, there is a clear distinction between lower knowledge and higher knowledge. Thanks to great Adi Shankaracharya, he said, many people say that he says the world is Maya, the world is illusion. No, it is quite wrong. Even Arvindo Maharshi elsewhere says that Adi Shankaracharya said the world is illusion. No, he never says that the world is illusion. Once I had an occasion to observe Adi Shankaracharya's movie in Sanskrit language. I was fortunate. When after writing his Brahma Sutra Bhashya, his say fellow say friends there in ashram, they said that no, he's saying world is no. What Adi Shankara said, Paramarthika Satya, Pratibhashika Satya, and this world has got it has got empirical reality. Vyavarika Satta is there. Vyavarika Satta is not equal to illusion, because I have published an article in Vedanta Kesari how Adi Shankaracharya has refuted Nagarjuna's view as world is illusion, it is like the dream. And Adi Shankara here he refers the Nagarjuna's the Madhyamika's views. So there is a traveler and he wants to reach a village. Say in between the two places there was a huge banyan tree and he was very tired. He was taking rest. Say fortunately, unfortunately, he got a sound sleep and he went to dream. So only after sound sleep, the nature has provided an occasionality to say dream, not directly from, there is no passage from waking state to dream state. So it should, and he says, Adi Shankaracharya, he says, if dream experience is same to waking state, and that fellow is already reached his relative's place, which is far away, and now he is in the halfway, then why he is not there actually? Therefore, Adi Shankaracharya in Brahma Sutra Bhashya in Upadgata, he says that Jnanantu pramanajanyam pramanancha vastu vishayakam na purusha tantram no chodana shantram vastu tantram meva. So he is a super scientist. Even scientists must take the guidance. Therefore, Shankaracharya's epistemology is a guidance for the past, the present, even for the future. For not only for the human civilization. Elsewhere, Shankaracharya says that. We say that Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, this is our closed circle. He says that Swadesho Bhunatrayam. Now, what has so of course our learned scholar say incidentally or contextually referred to the present ecological crisis. There is no sustainability. Our Vedic rishis were fully conscious of that one. So about few days back, I referred in my talk about the sustainability, Vedic vision of sustainability and so on. So here, not only our planetary system is just, this is because of avidya of human beings. Not only this avidya is covered by only for Indian continent, it is all over the world. Even the oceans are polluted and Antariksha is polluted. And how to overcome this one? The right understanding. And the last point I want to conclude before thanking the learned speaker. About few years back, I made some survey because when I was the dean of the biggest faculty of my university, Karnataka University, Dharwad, university entrusted me to visit most of the colleges coming under my university. And so I instantly thought that I extended this one. So let me see the most famous university in the world like Harvard, Cambridge, Oxford, London, elsewhere and so on, what they are doing to protect our planet Earth. So thanks to the Oxford University Philosophy Department, they have attached one important institution, that is Future of Humanity. And I had to submit one project. So not only the future of humanity, I modified and made some sort of the correction in my project proposal, that future of life on this planet. So because according to the principle of democracy on this planet, I call this planet, Earth planet, is a hydraulic planet because 70% is covered by water. And the rest of the world is forest and some desert and so on and so forth. And then we have got these say mean-minded geographical maps, and this is India and that is Europe and so on and so forth. And for this, even J. Krishnamurti was highly critical, who is called a philosopher of philosophers. And he has given some sort of awakening for the entire world. And he made one right observation of the humanity, that the humanity has put wrong step in the beginning. Say when our direction is towards the east, in the beginning at the crossroad, if we put towards south, straight away we go to, say, forgetting about east, we go towards some other direction. Therefore, say now it is the challenge for the humanity to rectify the mistakes. And to my observations, I have to thank some of the best authorities of the education. So here my idea is this, that just even UGC plan, in order to be successful, say when I conducted as the director of the National Center of Ethical Values in Indian Philosophy, the UGC concern was that there is a erosion of ethical values in all the walks of life, not only India and elsewhere, in laboratories. Say why we need. Say there is one German philosopher, thanks to that German philosopher, here our Lord Krishna encouraged war, but Immanuel Kant, I taught his text many years. And of course, except that text, elsewhere he says, say, perpetual peace, he says. How human beings can live peacefully. And first condition, he says that all the nations unconditionally, they should abandon standing armies and defending the army. Of course, I will add, dump all the war armaments in the oceans, deep oceans, and forget about it. Then only the planet will be successful, peaceful. Otherwise, the formula of Gandhis or Buddhas, especially the peace mantras prior to Lord Buddha, they are there in our Upanishads. They prayed not only peace for the humanity. Prithvi should be peaceful. Antariksha should be peaceful. So, just as Adi Shankaracharya says, Swadesho Bhunatrayam, Bhuvanaloka, Bhoraloka, Suvaraloka, in order to attain this kind of, So there should be some sort of coordination between East and the West, and now it is going on. To my surprise, it is necessary for the Indian system of education to introduce some basics of philosophy right from kindergarten. Because out of my experience, I'm telling, about 20 years back, I received some communication from New Jersey state. And there they are running, I don't know whether now it is the Institute of Philosophy for Children. I had to submit one small project, how to improve the perception of the children. They accepted it and asked me to visit that place like that. For some reason, I didn't go. And again, I observed France. I thank the authorities of the education in the France. They have started teaching philosophy in their own way, right from the primary, secondary education. How about the status of Indian system of education? Even the college students, they do not know the meaning of philosophy in some context. Huh? And again, say this is the sort of the situation here. And philosophical thinking, it is basically rational thinking. And again, the philosophy is equal to, just as in mathematics means there is not just one mathematics, Akhanda system. Say there is algebra, trigonometry, calculus, and so on. So in philosophy is equal to metaphysics, epistemology, ethics, then aesthetics. This is most important. Professor Hirayana has regretted. Unfortunately, Indian system builders, like Western counterparts, they have not devoted exclusively in the philosophical systems like ethics, this aesthetics. And fortunately or unfortunately, our other scholars like Rasavadins, Dhvanyaloka and some Bharata's Natya Shastra, there we come across say Indian aesthetic elements and so on. But thanks to Professor Hirayana, in Indian conception of values, he has reconstructed that, look, in Indian conception of values, we have absolute values, metaphysical values, epistemological values, logical values, and aesthetic values. And there is a need to make it a highway in order to see the glorification of our Indian systems. So Indian philosophical systems must incorporate the systems, say, rich in our Agama systems. There are three sets of Agamas. Shaiva Agamas, because in Agamas consists of four important components. Jnana, knowledge part, and then yoga part, charya, and kriya. This temple construction, all this engineering, so that India and other worlds where most of the Hindu temples are constructed, it is possible because of our Adamic literature. Because there is in Veda, except some Kalpa Sutras, there is no encouragement. But in Agamas, there is a considerable concern for the construction of temples and then art of making the images. And then we have got a 3-in-1 reality model, Brahma, Vishnu, and Maheshwara. Therefore, there is no need to quarrel about one. And they can manage the entire cosmic systems if there is a right understanding. Therefore, say once again, I thank the learned speaker, and she has covered a vast field. And to sum up, say my observation, that it is necessary to make the conceptual framework of our rational system highly appreciated by the enlightened brains of the West, including the Right Honorable Max Muller, and even say we have to thank even the person who is responsible for the English education, Lord Macaulay. Lord Macaulay in British Parliament, he said, say in one or the other day, if Indians, they also become free after with all their wisdom, and one can write those words in the that will be a glorious phase in the British history of India. He appreciated. Perhaps when the Indian origin, our Rishi Sunak is the Prime Minister of the Britain now, of course, the soul of Lord Macaulay is very happy in the heaven. But anyway, now let me sum up my observation. the Indian philosophical system is not closed because of Radhakrishnan has given this framework and our great Dasgupta has given. We have to take into consideration the some of the scanty ideas. Of course, still there is a need of decipher of Harappan script. It is going on. The Western scholars are also taking care of that one. So it should start with pre-Vedic Harappan civilization, and then it must incorporate not Vedas as not just Vedas and Upanishads. Veda Darshana we have to make it. I call it as Mahaveda Darshana. Mahaveda Darshana, according to me, it consists of four big books. Rig Veda, Yajur Veda, Sama Veda, Athar Veda, together make it is Mahaveda Darshana. And then Maha Upanishad Darshana. Then follow six systems. We have to add, say, Vaishnava Darshana, Vaishnava Agama philosophy should be there, Saiva Agama philosophy should be there, and Shakta Agama philosophy is there. Otherwise, it is even today it is lopsided. The scholars can understand it. So we should have. So if we have our concern for the future generation to give best of our rational heritage, the Indian intellectual heritage, and that one, we must. The available literature of the Agamas very rich. Say Jnana Pada, Yoga Pada, Kriya Pada, Charya Pada. So the knowledge. As a matter of fact, Adi Shankaracharya, he incorporated. He was not exclusively a Vedic scholar. Saundarya Lahari, you just after our perusal of Saundarya Lahari, Shivananda Lahari, and so on. So there is a lot of influence on Adi Shankaracharya from the Agama side. Therefore, say Agama and Vedas, they supplement each other. And Indian tradition will be glorified if you take care of Agamas and incorporate in our grand conceptual framework of Indian philosophy. So here I just conclude my brief observation. I thank the speaker and the scholars once again. Thank you. Shubhamastu.
Thank you so much, sir. I'll take into account. Yes, that was missing. Agam was missing. I'll take whatever you have said. I'll include in my
Thank you.
yes thing. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. Your observation.
Can I say a few words?
Yes.
Thank you very much. It was an exhilarating experience listening Jayanti ji. And I think the way she has compiled everything together in a beautiful manner. And, you know, the kind of things Dr. Ingalali said is that how to start with the young children from the nursery class onwards. So we had a discussion with her earlier here at our place. So I think joining everything together along with the explanation of saints and the kind of things we are trying to incorporate through science and logic to make it understandable. Because the students, as I could see the pain in Jayanti Sahoo's talk, that she's really pained that how the students don't understand this part and how to make them, how to involve the youngsters into this. So we got to tell them something of the present and then gradually take them backwards into the whole thing. So we have given a proposal to her to work on co-aim theory and practice, which is correlation of your attention, information, and material. Attention is the outer expression of your soul, which is like an optical scanner, and the information is your mind, and material is your body. So we can really take it up with that and how attention operates so that they can understand that it is divine and how we have acquired the mind and created the body from a single cell to the crown of creation, the human body. If we can take up this particular route, it will be quite interesting for the young students to understand something new. So now here we are using Pratyaksha Pramanante because the whole cosmos is now visible and it's a living entity. It is pulsating universe. how we can really connect each life to those, the whole cosmos. As I had explained, she knows that the cosmos has got three basics: the floating material bodies, the universal mind, which runs the whole cosmos through gravitational magnetic fields. It is embedded with information system like 2G, 3G, 6G internet is all operative from there. And then chemistry, physics, maths is all there. If the apple falls, the Newton calculates the law of nature. And the absolute intelligence capable force energizing the whole cosmos. In the particle and wave theory, it is very clear now. Science is really baffled to know that how this particle behaves intelligently. It divides itself into two and passes through those double slit experiments. And then it becomes a wave or a particle. So practically that wave is connected to nada. So this nad, how it all started, how it created the universal mind and it created the universal body, and how part of that nada is now represented here in each life, each living body. So it is a joint dream, as you sometimes say, Jagat Mithya, Brahma Satya. So now you can understand that it is a dream by all of us. We are all together in this dream. And then each soul is having its own part to play there. And it's a dream. So connecting all this in a beautiful manner needs a comprehensive effort, as Jayanti ji did it today. And she can add a few more things, and we hope that this, something like this, what we've been planning can be added into this. And then we approach that this is how it can be delivered to the whole world, that we are part of those three things: floating material bodies, the universal mind, and absolute. You are representing as your soul. So you have got a mind, you have got a body. So these three are connected with those three. It is so simple to understand for students, and then explore those areas that where it is so deep. Each point goes so deeper into it, that how really it works. Thank you very much. So it's a wonderful thing happening. And I think, again, congratulations to Jayanti ji. She has done a wonderful job here. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, now Rita ji. She is in Atlanta, America. She is a philosopher, etc. But she is very much interested in these things. And our Veda Kendra promoter and well-wisher and student. Please.
Professor Pravachana Garuji, my humble pranams to you. I am no philosopher, definitely I can say that 100%. I am just very humbled to sit here at the feet of Professor Dr. Jayanti Sahoo and Dr. Inglali and all of you, very distinguished, very distinguished. I must have some Punarjanma blessings to be here. I have learned so much of this vast field of knowledge that you have brought to us in a very brief and very short time, but made it so very interesting. A couple of points that have come through the theme, which is being repeated by different speakers today. I want to just highlight that. And one is Swami Vivekananda's contribution to philosophy. I think 3 or 4 of you have mentioned Swami Vivekananda. And I would like to add that it was Swami Vivekananda who brought yoga, the concepts of Patanjali's yoga in 1893. And because of him laying that foundation, the other Indian transcendentalists, etc., were able to come and then build on that. But that little fact has been forgotten. The second point I want to say is that Swami Vivekananda personally met great philosophers like William James is a pragmatist who has influenced American education system through his through the other philosophers like John Dewey and Don Sean, etc. So American education is greatly indebted to Swami Vivekananda in that sense. And rather than give, yes, we must acknowledge Max Muller's contribution to our bringing our systems to the West. But what is not known is that Max Muller met Swami Vivekananda in 1896. So Swami Vivekananda's thumbprint is throughout this talk and as well throughout our modern history. And when we speak about philosophy, though, we can talk about it as if it is ancient, but then we can also look at it as if it is alive and look for the younger generation that is making contributions. And Swami Medhananda is a rising superstar in this field. He has excavated the idea that's Paramahansa Ramakrishna made of bringing Adi Shankaracharya's Advaita and Ramanuja's Vishishta Advaita. I think it's called Vishishta Advaita. That's right. Those two ideas were considered separate, but Ramakrishna, Paramahansa Ramakrishna brought those two ideas together and in the form of Vijnanavada. So Madam mentioned Brahma Satya, Jagat Mithya, but the current thinking in philosophy is Brahma Satya, Jagat Satya also. So the two separations are not there anymore. And Swami Medhananda, in his book on Swami Vivekananda, it's called Vedantic Cosmopolitanism, he elaborates this a lot more. And also he has written about, anyway, I won't digress. Swami Vivekananda, you can read this, that it is the truth of these statements is not just a conceptual, because he had experiential knowledge. He had the personal experience of microcosm and macrocosm being connected. So the integration of all of this is a reality which is accessible to us. Having said that, I want to just say how blessed I am to have been in this august company and very encouraged to see particularly, women philosophers, without ever mentioning that you are a female, without making a big show of it. So this is the Indian way, I would say. Definitely, I would say we should not be embarrassed to acknowledge, in some respects, it's not a political word, but this is our dharma and you are upholding it. And I'm very grateful to all of you. Thank you so much. Hari Om. That's it.
Thank you so much for your observation. But the only thing, again, I should not say, but I must say, I agree with you. Brahma Satya, Jagat Satya. But if we allow Brahma Satya, Jagat Satya, Brahma will lose its own identity. Because Advaita is very carefully, Sankaracharya has kept Brahma Satya, Jagat Mithya, so that in the metaphysical level, he can establish the pure consciousness. And once we allow pure consciousness to be the modal consciousness, then it will be impure, then Brahma will not be Satya. Then it will so there is a, I think we can think over that. The idea seems to be good, but Jagat Mithya means Jagat is Abhidya, mind, body, Jiva complex is there. And in the Maya, he refers to, it can be God, it refers to matter, anything can be. So to prove the greatness of Brahma, he said Maya is neither real nor unreal nor both. Sad Nirvachanya. But there is I agree, I like the idea, it is Brahma Satya, Jagat Satya. But again, there is a danger, I think, if we say Brahma Satya, Jagat Satya, then whole epistemological process which Sankaracharya has created in order to understand Brahma might not work that way. So, and Jagat is Satya, but inside the human beings who all are working with ego and that mind and desires is asatya. So that will be a problem, that how to establish even logically, that will be a contradiction. I think, I just don't know, but maybe that will guide us.
I think Paramahansa meant that Nitya and Leela are the two aspects of the same Brahman.
Okay.
That's what he
Yes.
meant.
Yes. Thank you so much. Thank you, sir.
So thank you very much. I think we can conclude. It's really a wonderful session where so many thoughts have come forward. And now Dr. Prasad, who is a professor in the Bengaluru University, Computer Science, and he will be the master and he'll just conclude.
I think I just want to say thank you all for attending. And Rita, madam, you are a philosopher based on your remarks, no doubt. And thank you for concluding very nicely. So thank you all. I'll be stopping.
And moreover,